Today I'll be swapping out the steering wheel on a 2000 Volvo V70. This should also work for the S and C70 models. I'm not sure about the 850s. It's the same platform car, but I know those steering wheels are a little different. If for some reason you find that the sizes of the tools used here are different than what they are on your car, please leave a comment and let me know. I've had that happen on a few other videos where, little specifics here and there might change between model years. Please let me know. I can pin a comment and let other viewers know. This job is pretty straightforward, but you do need a couple specific tools. 18mm sockets, a T20 bit, a T30 driver bit because that's what fits in the back to release the airbag, 10mm wrench, a 1/4" wrench to use on that driver bit, ratchets, torque wrench, breaker bar, marker, and red Loctite, which is number 263. Start by disconnecting the negative battery terminal and let the car sit for about 20 to 30 minutes. You want to let any of that residual power drain out because we are removing the airbag and you do not want that going off. So better safe than sorry here. Disconnect the battery, let the car sit, and then get to work. Now you want to unlock the steering wheel, so turn your key on, turn the steering wheel 90 degrees so you can access the little holes in the back so we can loosen the screws that hold the airbag to the steering wheel itself. I've heard that if you remove or install the left screw first, there's a chance that the horn won't work when you put it back together. So I heard to always remove the right screw and then install the right screw first. So that's the procedure I went with. You can take a chance. I didn't want to. I figured it's easy enough to just do that one. So that's what I did, and I can confirm that my horn did work when I put it all back together. Any of the torque sockets I have aren't long enough, which is why I used this little driver bit. And then you can use a wrench or a ratchet, but you just have to crack the bolt loose and then you can unscrew it by hand. Here's just a quick shot with the wheel off the car. So these are the holes you're accessing. You're going to loosen those screws. They don't come out fully, probably because they don't want you to lose them. So you're just going to unscrew them until they start to get a little tough and bottom out. Now the airbag is unscrewed from the steering wheel and we can continue the process of removing it. Gently pull on each side of the airbag to release the little pressure clips, but don't pull too hard and don't let the airbag hang down because you've still got the wiring harness plugged in for the airbag. So you want to just fold it down so we can unplug that safely and get that out of the way. The plug doesn't have a safety latch or anything on it, so just pull it straight back and then your airbag's disconnected. There's a T20 screw on this little yellow piece of plastic and it just sits in the molded steering wheel itself. You want to remove it from there and then you screw it in through the back of the steering wheel and it holds the clock spring in place. You want to make sure it engages the piece behind it as you can see in the video here because otherwise your clock spring will unwind and then you've got much larger problems. You can now remove the 18mm bolt that holds the steering wheel to the rest of the column. Yours should be tighter than this and you should need a breaker bar to do it. For whatever reason, my steering wheel was loose. You could feel it rock back and forth in your hands when you were driving the car. So I didn't need a breaker bar, but you should to remove yours. It's a good idea to mark the steering wheel so you know the alignment between the steering wheel and the column. You just take a little marker, swipe a line down there. In this case, I'm taking off the tan steering wheel and replacing it with a different one. So it doesn't really matter that much because the different one doesn't have an alignment mark on it. But if I were to ever put the tan one back on, I know how it's supposed to go. When you take the steering wheel off, just feed the wires through the back of the wheel and it'll pull right off. Now you can put the steering wheel back on. If you're like me and your new steering wheel doesn't have the little alignment marker from the last person taking it off, it's not a problem. Just align those splines up. You know when the steering wheel's straight, it should match up to the column. You know what the old one looked like on there. So if you line it up perfectly, it'll track perfectly and your steering wheel alignment will be fine. Before installing the bolt, put a dab of Loctite on there. Then you can remove that set screw that you put in your clock spring, install that back into the wheel itself, and then we can move on to torquing the bolt. The torque spec for the bolt is 22 foot-pounds, and while that doesn't seem like very much, I don't want to over-tighten it, so that's why I'm using the torque wrench. After that, it's an additional 30 degrees, and while I don't have an angle gauge, 30 degrees is slightly less than 45, so it's pretty easy to eyeball. This part would be way easier with someone to hold the steering wheel while you try to do that additional 30 degrees, but after a little bit of struggle, I was able to figure it out. I just grabbed a larger breaker bar to get more leverage on it, and then kind of hugged the steering wheel as you can see and was able to get that 30 degrees. Go ahead and plug your airbag harness back in, then install it into those pressure spring clip things. Turn your wheel, install those screws back in. Again, I did the right side first and my horn did work afterwards, so whether there's truth to that or not, I don't know, but I didn't want to find out, and I still have a working horn. And with that, the steering wheel should be ready to go. This is just a couple shots of the new steering wheel. Overall, I'm really happy with this. It's such a better steering wheel, and it was so easy to swap it out, so I highly recommend it, especially if you can find a cheap one on eBay. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'll try to help you out as best I can. Thanks for checking out this video, and don't forget to subscribe.